mom, she would just come to me and just be like, have you prayed yet? And I'm just like, no, not yet. She was like, no, you have to pray. Make sure you get your prayers in. But it was so fearful. I feel like I was brought up on the basis of fear and not what Islam is, which is the religion of peace, religion of love and acceptance. If you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. If you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. If I'm being real, I didn't think I was gonna survive it. I fully thought it was a punishment from God. Salam everyone, if you guys don't know me already, my name is Shah and I'm here today with Aisha during Mental Health Awareness Week, and we're just going to be talking about what mental health means to me as a woman, as a Muslim, and just unpacking what that is.
So thank you for having me. I'm Ayesha Aslam. I'm the founder of Sakoon Counselling Services, and I'm also a systemic therapist. We work with families, couples, and individuals. So today we're not really talking about work, so we're going to talk about that personal side of mental health, them raw, unfiltered moments, them hidden struggles, them messy in-betweens, those hidden tears, them conversations that we don't talk about out loud. I just thought it would be nice for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your work that you do at Muzz.
I've only been in Muzz for 6 months, but I'm the UK marketing specialist, so I basically run all the marketing initiatives for the UK, Alhamdulillah, and it's been quite an amazing journey being here. And honestly, as a Muslim, working in a Muslim company, it's definitely opened my eyes as to, what it's like to, provide a service for Muslims around the world who, are looking to find love, looking to find relationships and even friendships, It really is a dynamic role, and, having doing that in London as well, I feel like it's really fun, 100%.
Sounds like amazing work, and I've seen some of your work as well. And it looks amazing.
Thank you.
It looks like really good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, appreciate that.
But I'm also really curious because you're interested in the mental health campaign.
Yes.
And I was wondering what drew you to the mental health campaign? What connected you to want to have these conversations?
Yeah, of course. Muzz itself is an app. You're going to be online, you're going to put yourself out there for potential matches and potential spouses, partners, and friends. And, on that level, being online in general can take a toll on you mentally, right? So I kind of wanted to address what it means to, navigate mental health as someone who is searching for a partner, for the people on the app, As a Muslim, mental health is generally considered a taboo. People don't really know too much about it. Not that they don't know too much about it, it's that they kind of turn a blind eye to it. I feel like people kind of view mental health as like, what is this? What is this concept? It's like physical health is one thing. You can physically see it on your body. If you're sick, if you're coughing, if you're sneezing, you have to go to hospital. But if it's something to do with the sickness in your mind, or I wouldn't say sickness, but if there is something that's going on in your head, it can be really hard to explain it.
We all have mental health experiences. Yes. We all have a story to share,
of course,
but we don't bring it up in the limelight.
Yeah, of course, it's very vulnerable.
Absolutely. But how are we going to break these barriers? How are we going to break the stigma around mental health? Because it does exist. Just like you said, physical health exists. People talk about it. It's normalized. But when we touch on mental health, it's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What's the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
But the reality is it is normal. Yeah. And if something bad happens in our life, it's natural to feel down.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? At the same time, we are all individuals and we all have our own personal stories.
We're only human.
Absolutely.
We're all human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it would be great just to hear about what would you say were some of the turning points in your life where you felt it was challenging?
Of course. I have been in London for around 8 years now, but originally I'm from Malaysia. So I grew up, born in Malaysia, and at the age of 5, myself and my family, we actually moved to Saudi Arabia. So my entire upbringing was brought up in Saudi Arabia. I was brought up in Saudi Arabia, and of course, Saudi, I feel like generally people see Saudi as like, oh God, like, were you very much enclosed and all of this, but people don't realize that when you live in Saudi, it's actually like where I lived, it was an American compound. So it's very much it was very open in that sense. But another, I guess the flip side of it was that I was very sheltered from the outside world, because it's kind of, this compound that you live in. It's like, oh yeah, this is how it is, kind of like a shell, And then, after 10 years, my parents sent me to London to finish off my studies, and then I've been here since. So that was 2016. I was 15, so when I was 15, my parents dropped me off here, and for the first 3 months, I actually had to live with a foster family, because legally you can't live in alone or with friends until you're 16. So by the time I turned 16, that's when I was able to live with my friends from college. Like, I always end up telling people, like, I don't know how I did it, I just did. You know what I mean? It was a very much like...
I guess at that age, you're quite young, so you're just going to do what your parents... are sort of saying, this is what we've got to do.
100%.
And you just sort of follow that.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Because it sounds like quite an incredible journey that you've had at such a young age, from going to different cultures, different countries, having to navigate different places that you lived in. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I think being brought up as a third culture kid, if you know what that term is, like, third culture kid is, I'm born in one country. I identify as Malaysian, but I think throughout my entire life, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to be Malaysian enough. I'm never going to be this enough. I'm not British enough. I'm not Saudi enough, So I think...
So you never felt you fitted in
a particular
culture?
I don't think I ever felt like I fitted in any place that I was in. Home is never really one place for me. Home was never a place for me, and I've always had to kind of navigate that alone and try to find people to kind of fit into and stuff like that, fit with. And yeah, it was
so
just
you've had to adapt and adjust.
Yeah.
And you've had to learn them skills quite
quickly. I think, I don't know, some part of me, like, when I kind of look back at it, it kind of feels like I was just on survival mode. Having to just, okay, I've been dropped in this really big city by myself. Obviously, cultural-wise, religious-wise, it went from Saudi Arabia to London. So it's like where, all religions and none exist as well. So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, this is new. And something that happened whilst out during my first year in London was I actually fell really physically ill. And basically I lost 10 kilos. I randomly got sick, and I thought it was food poisoning. And I had to fly back to Malaysia after my GCSEs. And I remember 2017, if whoever fasted in 2016, 2017 knows that the summer, that was a really intense one. So doing your GCSEs in the summer whilst you're fasting is really tough. I had to go to hospital, and what was meant to be just an overnight stay turned into 3 months, because I actually got diagnosed with lupus. So so people don't know what lupus is. It's an autoimmune condition where it attacks all the healthy major organs in your body. If I'm being real, I didn't think I was going to survive it.
Sounds like a very scary experience.
And I fully was. I was ready to just go. But Alhamdulillah, I think God gave me a second chance.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for sharing, because I know that can't be easy for you, Shah. But I can hear that it's such an early age in your life. You've had to navigate through life, go through many different layers of culture, of different countries, of having to be in a very closed space to then being in a very open space, having to possibly adapt and adjust to the way people were, saying that you lived in different homes as well.
I fully thought it was a punishment from God, because I didn't bring it up earlier, but when I was in Saudi, like, I wore the hijab. So I was very much, what people saw as like the perfect or a good Muslim, did my prayers and stuff like that. But I think when I moved to the UK, it was very much a culture shock, and I wanted to integrate as best as I could. So, honestly, I took the hijab off, because I kind of felt that I was pressured into wearing the hijab. And then that's kind of why I thought it was me being sick was a punishment from God for taking the hijab off. But I was kind of brought up with this concept that everything that I did and everything that happens to me was a form of punishment. Being brought up Muslim, alhamdulillah, I'm really grateful to be brought up Muslim. But I don't think that was how I wanted to be brought up. And I think looking back as an adult, like, my goodness, I don't think that was the ideal way to be brought up as a Muslim.
But not a sense of emotional connection or love?
No, not at all. I think I remember my mom, she would just come to me and just be like, have you prayed yet? And I'm just like, no, not yet. She was like, no, you have to pray. Make sure you get your prayers in. But it was so fearful. I feel like I was brought up on the basis of fear and not what Islam is, which is the religion of peace, religion of love and acceptance. If you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. If you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. Yeah.
And I do think that many Muslims do struggle with this aspect of having this pressure to have to be a certain way, but not really feeling connected to it because of how it's being addressed to them.
You should be wanting to pray. You want to be talking to Allah. You want to be connecting with Allah. But when it comes to having, it's almost like a chore. It's like, when someone tells you to go wash the dishes and you're about to do it, and then you're like, now I don't want to do it.
I get that a lot with my kids.
Exactly. I get that a lot with myself. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. But it's like, being told instead of being like encouraged, and then having that want to, connect with your faith and stuff. It really does play a big role in how you view, the religion that you follow. And I don't think they knew how to express love in an emotional sense. It was very, like you said, push and pull, hot and cold type of situation where it's like kind of having to tiptoe around it just to kind of feel that love. And I feel like it's almost the same way with how I navigated religion as well. It was like, ooh, hot and cold. It's like, ooh, I want to do this, but ooh, I'm going to get punished. Same way with me and my parents. So that's kind of how I saw it. If I'm being honest, that's kind of why I asked my dad, hey, can you send me to London? Because I wanted that distance, that physical distance from them. Because I felt like as a kid growing up, I feel like I learned the term, you can love them from a distance at a very young age.
I think when you're a child, like you said, the only people you sort of look up to is your family or the country that you're living in.
Yeah.
And you sort of follow their rules, you follow their norms as well.
100%.
So you have this sort of one story, one narrative of this is how we have to live life.
Yeah.
And from what I can hear, it was almost like a pressure cooker. It was just like really, really very simmering much. And it was just getting way too much for you. But I guess I'm getting a sense that with your family, it wasn't intentional, it wasn't malicious, it was just perhaps how it was culturally. Yeah,
I think so too. I think, especially with my parents, like they come from a village in Malaysia, you know what I mean? So obviously it's gonna come very traditional style of growing up. What's the term? Disciplined type of strict, very disciplined type of parenting, right? So obviously, like
harsh,
they're very harsh, very harsh, very harsh level of parenting. I'll be real.
And I can hear this sort of journey of identity. So really trying to find yourself.
Yeah.
So being told in one particular way, this is how you've got to live life.
Yeah.
But then when you moved to the UK, you were then able to have that space, perhaps, to be able to think a little bit about who you are.
Yeah.
How you want to live your life.
Yeah.
What does Islam mean to you?
Yeah.
And sort of navigating them aspects in your life.
I think maybe I was scared of being myself when I was younger. Now that I kind of look back on it, it was like maybe I think I was silenced a lot when I was a kid. I didn't have the room to talk a lot, or at least talk back, or at least fight for myself. So when I'm here, when we kind of it quite literally all came out. Yeah. Dare I say, did I become a rebellious late teenager? Yes.
But I can hear, just listening to you, Shah, and again, I just want to say thank you for sharing it with us all. And I think it's just incredible that you're able to share your story, because I do think many Muslims, as well as non-Muslims, struggle in these areas when it comes to identity, when it comes to cultural expectations, when it comes to feeling emotionally neglected or not feeling connected to our faith or to our spirituality.
As much as, like, quote unquote, I wanted to be myself and explore myself, I think some of the traditional aspects of like my culture and stuff, it's still stuck to me. It's just like, I do want to settle down. I do want to find a husband. I do want to, inshallah, I do want to find love. I do want to settle down. I do want to have get married, have kids, all that stuff, because I feel like to me that's like, it's a sweet spot to me. It's that push and pull effect. It's like I think I don't say the term crave instability, but it's something that I'm so used to. It's something that I know. So it's like if what's the term? If it's like rocky, if someone's like really rocky, very much like push and pull, then I'm like, oh yeah, this is the person that I want. That's obviously not good for you guys,
but that is how we are
Yeah.
sort of instilled, is whatever is our comfort zone, what is normal to us or what we've been brought up with,
Yeah.
is what we may be attracted to.
Yes.
As well. So there is research
100%.
to show that.
Yeah, I think this is really important for like, you know, people who are searching for their partner on Muzz, anywhere, is that like you really need to address your childhood, your culture as well, because obviously that's going to play a big role when you're searching for your partner, when you end up getting married, inshallah, because it's like you don't realize it then, but if you don't address these situations, if you don't, you know, if there is healing to be done, if you don't heal from it or at least work on it in the process, it's no point bottling up what you've experienced and kind of just tucking it under a rug, because at the end of the day it's going to come back to you. Understand yourself before even searching for a partner, I feel, and that's something that I fell victim to when I was, you know, in my teens going into uni. I think now, like 6 years later, I realized why Allah puts this thing of make your relationship halal. It happens to people in my age group, early to late 20s, where you kind of fall into this thing of what's considered a haram relationship. I thought it was gonna be like, oh no, it's okay, like it's fine, like we're gonna make it halal, we're gonna get married and stuff like that. Oh, I was so wrong. Because all that led for me was, it led to heartbreak, it led to disappointment, it led to mental health problems with myself. I think whatever I was already bottling up inside, it just came out. So I think, you know, within this relationship, without touching on it a bit too much, you know.
Yeah, but thank you for sharing, Shah, because again, I think this is what many Muslims will be able to connect with.
Yeah.
And it is something that you're learning about yourself, and you're at that stage where you want a companionship, you want a partner.
Yeah.
That's just how we're created. Adam is created for
Exactly.
Hawa.
Exactly.
And it's that idea of we want that partner. But what I can also hear is sometimes when we enter into relationships, like you mentioned, it does trigger our childhood.
Yes.
But I guess what was really important is that you're trying to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
And you're learning about the triggers as well.
I think learning about triggers is so important, because it's like, oh, why do you feel the sudden drop in your chest? It's really hard to verbalize it, but that physical feeling, it's like everything else is a blur around you, and you can only think about that, and you're just kind of in a hole.
But again, I think we've got to understand that Islam is not so black and white.
No,
it's
not at
about
all.
Mercy, it's about love, it's about connection, it's about understanding yourself. And sometimes we have to go through these journeys in order to be able to understand ourselves better.
Yeah.
To recognize, okay, this is not the way forward, or how I want to live my life. This is actually what I want to be doing. It's a journey.
You're journeying with faith, you're journeying with yourself, you're journeying
Absolutely.
with life in general. Everything's all interconnected.
And we have to learn, we have to grow.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we will then be the person that we want to be.
Yeah.
But we've got to go through that journey in order to get there.
When there is like a hardship that comes through, it's like, okay, this is a test.
Yes.
This is a test. And it was hard for me to see that back then when I, you know, strayed away from Islam. But, you know, having to relearn it as an adult, it made me realize, like, actually, this is a test and this is good.
But I just want to go back a little bit, Shah, because you mentioned around before going into a relationship that it's so important to work on yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah.
Really, really happy, because what a lot of people tend to do is they enter a relationship to meet an unmet need. Okay, so a lot of people, if they didn't get the love they received growing up, or they felt that they were avoided, or they didn't get the affection, then they may become overly affectionate, or they expect it from their partner. And when you go into a relationship like that, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's a disaster, yeah.
So the key to a successful relationship is working on ourselves.
100%.
Okay, working on them wounds. And we all have wounds.
Yeah.
We know in our being as well, and we think about the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and all the people, the Sahabas, they all went through hardships.
Yes.
Their lives wasn't easy at all. And life is challenging, and we've got to just navigate through life in the best way that we can.
In terms of me getting sick and me kind of going through all of that, I think that was, I grew up thinking a test was a punishment, but actually a test is the way to bring you closer to Allah and to the religion again, because it's Him calling you. So it's like,
And when you think in that way compared to punishment,
I think it's definitely more of a beautiful way to see it, just because, my goodness, it's like I would be complaining about this and this, and I'm just like, wait a second. It's like I used to always complain a lot when it rained, and I forget that actually rain is good. Oh, yes. Rain is good, because rain, that means you can make dua.
Yes. The angels of
exactly. So it's like, it's really easy. I think as humans in general, it's so much easier to focus on the negative. You have to still go through it. Whatever you're feeling, you have to let it. You have to let it go through. Because
there's no quick fix.
Yeah, there's no quick fix. There's no point trying to be like, I need to get out of this. Yes. Because my goodness, if you get out of it, it's gonna come back to you times 3 times.
It's always there haunting you.
Yeah, it's always there at the back of your mind, right? But I think I always tell myself, you have to, if you feel like if you're down, if you feel low, if you can feel that, because I feel like seasonal depression, for example, right, comes and goes. If you feel yourself entering it, let yourself go through it. I consider myself to be extroverted, right? So when I can feel that slipping away, and it's really hard to explain. It's definitely when there's like a physical, like, it feels like a brick on my chest, and it feels like something on my shoulders here. So that's how I can kind of feel that. And then when my mind goes blank, normally with my mind, especially with my role at Muzz, there's always creative ideas going around my head. And then when it feels like complete silence, and I just feel like, and I'm zoning out a lot, I need to go through this for a little bit. And it's really funny because like sometimes I can feel my friends like clock it. They can notice it, and then they message me, and they're just like, Shah, you good? You're not yourself. And I'm just like, I'm having my moment. I just call it a moment. I think it's so important to have at least one person who knows when you're kind of dipping in and out of your emotions, out of your feelings, because at least them, you can kind of go to them to rely on, and they know you. Even if they don't even need to do anything for you. It's kind of just them knowing that, okay,
just being there for you.
Because,
and I guess this was my next question for you, was how have you coped?
Yeah.
What has helped you to get through your journey?
Yeah. Talking to people, talking to your friends, your closest friends. One thing that I always stress about, regardless if you have something with your mental health or you don't, a strong support system is so important. And that support system, the idea of a support system, again, I understood that concept from a young age, because when I got dropped off to London alone, I was like, oh my God, I am alone in this really big new city. I need people to help me. Again, something that also I've learned throughout my time in London, for example, is that not everyone is there to look out for you. The inner child in me is so full of love. It was never able to give that, because I was like, okay, never really received it, but I still want to give it. But sometimes I end up giving it to the wrong people who didn't deserve it.
The reality is that it's about trying to get good company.
Yes.
In your life, having a good support network. And it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to find someone.
It was definitely a trial and error type of situation, realizing people come and go. And that's another thing that actually, something that I struggled with a lot. Because again, I feel like I'm a people person.
So support network is really important. Yes. Communication. Because I think what a lot of people do is they suffer in silence. Yes. And like you said, you felt quite alone.
Yeah. And
I think the key when you're going through mental health is that you've got to talk.
Yeah.
But talk to the right person.
Yeah, talk to the right person. Even, guys, therapy is out there. And then exactly, therapy is out there, guys. Counseling is out there. And it's really hard when, I honestly saw therapy as taboo before, but that came from my own parents, because they're just like, what is going on? Like, why do you need to talk to someone about your feelings? Like, just go pray.
It doesn't exist.
And I'm like, I don't think it works like that. But it is so important to talk to someone. And if you have a best friend, if you have one person that at least you can just talk it out, you know what I mean? You know?
And there's different tools, there's different coping tools. So
Exactly.
talking, it could be journaling, it could be going to the gym,
Yeah.
releasing that stress.
Exactly.
It could be art, it could be whatever it is, screaming in a pillowcase or whatever it might be.
You're honestly not alone, because it might feel like that when you're cooped up in your room and you think there's no way out, and you know, no one's gonna understand you in any way, right? But just know that, you know, like everyone else, like you are capable, you are worthy of love, you are worthy of being listened to, because sometimes it's hard to feel like you're not seen and you're not heard. And yeah, that's all I kind of want to say.
A problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
And it does make you feel good. It makes you feel a little bit less burdened.
Yeah.
It doesn't solve the problem,
Exactly.
but it makes you feel that you are supported. You do have somebody who is there to care for you. You being here today, I think, is incredibly powerful. Naming it, talking about your story, sharing it with others, and hopefully this will be able to touch others, to inspire others, to be able to help themselves or to help others who may be going through difficulties.
100%.
So I just want to say from my heart, thank you so much for sharing your story.
And thank you
with
for
us.
being here too. I appreciate it. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
Oh, but it was really powerful. I just want to give you a big hug.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Of course. You're absolutely amazing, inwardly and outwardly, and your journey is what's made you a beautiful woman.
Stop.
She's ready. She's worked on herself and she's ready for marriage.
Inshallah, guys.